there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Today's just going to be a quick video recapping my last month using the Life's a Festival palette from Too Faced. I'm going to go over my 7 favorite looks. Life's a Festival palette was my palette of the month for January. So we're going to go through my favorite looks from that palette. Day 1 is Dusk Teal Dawn. I really like this shimmer teal shadow. It wasn't in my favorites only because it's not a multi-dimensional shadow like the Artist Pass one is, but it's still one of my favorites and it was one of my favorite looks. Day 2 was Sunset Dreams. That one is a bit of a duochrome. It's more subtle than the Mystic Rain and the Artist Pass because it's more of a orange to pink shift. So it's very subtle. It's not as dynamic as those last two eyeshadows I mentioned, but it's still a very pretty shadow, and I really enjoyed this look. Day 3 was Euphoric. Again, it's more of a yellow to green type of shift. Not as dynamic as Artist Pass and Mystic Rain. About the same level of shift as Sunset Dreams, but still really pretty and very, very brightening shadow. Day 4, Desert Vibes. I'm actually wearing Desert Vibes as the matte shade today. On this day, I wore it all over my lid. And it's a nice one and done shadow. It kind of, to me, it reminds me of how a bronzer looks when you use a bronzer as your eyeshadow. That same sort of warm, sun-kissed sort of look. The 5th one is Beamin. Beamin is a full-on shimmer, not just a unichrome, like just a one color, no shift, but it's a very nice bright eyeshadow. It's definitely one of my favorite inner corner shadows. I used it many times this past month as an inner corner highlight, and once as an all over shadow, as you see here. Mystic Rain, one of the eyeshadows I mentioned, that it has a blue or a pink to blue shift. So it's got a nice, more dynamic duochrome than the Sunset Dreams or the Euphoric. So, and finally, Artist Pass. I think this one is actually one of my absolute favorite eyeshadows in that palette. It's got that plummy to teal shift in it. It's probably the most dynamic because it's the tones are so deep and saturated, so you really see the plum to teal shift in that one, and that is my probably top favorite eyeshadow in that palette. And then Mystic Rain is my 2nd favorite, and then probably Beamin would be my 3rd favorite. So one of the other ones that's kind of like Dusk Teal Dawn is FireFlies. It's kind of a greenish gold shadow. Again, it's just one, it doesn't shift, but it's very pretty. So there you have my favorite looks from the Life's a Festival palette. I have depotted that palette, as you may have seen in the my favorites, because I showed the favorites depotted out of the palette. Mainly because it was falling apart. I've had that palette for quite a few years and it just finally fell apart. It's only cardboard. So I took all the shadows out of it and have them as single shadows now, which works for me because then I can use them with anything. I can use them along with all my other shadows. So I like that option as well. See you next time. Bye.